Well, hello YouTube, it's me Fortmaster, and welcome back to another Black Pants Legion reaction and more battletech mechwarrior lore. This is the Battle of Tukayyid, remembering May 20th, 3052. Okay, so thinking about it, that seems a little early for what I remember the dates in mechwarrior are. When does, battletech actually take place again? Okay, so I'm looking at it, and the timeline ends at 3550. So that's... that's not the newest thing. It's 500 years old in setting, but when you have, But, at the same time, you do have mechs designs that continue in service for hundreds of years. So, with dealing with, sci-fi settings like this, judging how long is classified as technically old is kind of weird. So thinking about it, this is the first of the lore videos since I watched the intro to the setting and the stuff on the American Civil War that isn't about, a mech. It's about an event in, the universe, which I'm actually kind of excited about. Because while actually learning about the technology and the tools that they use in this universe are, very fun, these mechs are, again, I've said it before, I much prefer this design style of mechs as opposed to Gundams or stuff like that, where the weapons are built in and they're not basically a giant robotic dude with a sword or something like that. But yeah, this actually wait, remembering 3052, when is that? 3052, let's see what the timeline here says. Okay, so a lot of stuff involving the clans. Interesting. Okay, so this looks like it's going to be fun. So, yeah, of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video will lead to my Let's Play of the day. And if you like this video or any other video that I make, I'd very much appreciate it if you gave the video a like and subscribe to my channel. Because my main goal for this year is to hopefully hit 5,000 subscribers. And, it's I'm only 700 subscribers away from that at the time of recording. So, I imagine it's hopefully very doable. Because, you know how it works. The vast majority of people who watch my videos aren't actually subscribed, and I'd very much like that to change, even just a little bit, because, a lot of people say it, but being a YouTuber was a childhood dream of mine, and, everybody that, subscribes, watches my videos, gives likes, just, enjoys my content I put out, you're helping fulfill a childhood dream there. So, yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Hey there folks, Tex the Black Pants Legion here. Yes, we're working on the next Tex Talks Battletech, but this one here is going to be a special. An in-between episode. This episode is something that had to be said, and had to be said today of all days. Those of you who know why are smiling. Those of you who don't, well, buckle up. Here comes an education.
Wait, was this actually oh, it was released on May 20th. Okay. Sounds perfect.
Today is not a talk about a machine. Today is a celebration.
Urban mech.
Today is May the 20th. Today, we remember the Battle of Tukayyid. May the 20th, 3052 ended a battle, and in essence, a war. In a single contest of will, manpower, supplies, and crazy, the clan invasion was stopped dead on a formerly sleepy agricultural world. A world that was chosen as a proxy battle site in a desperate attempt to trick the clans into stopping their war machine in its tracks by taking advantage of their stupid ways. After all, the stakes were as high as they could be. By 3052, the clans were making great conquests of the Inner Sphere, nearly annihilating Rosselhog and threatening the capital of the Draconis Combine, a threat so serious the DCMS lightened their death to all mercenary stance just a tad. It was assumed that if this war continued, the Inner Sphere would be a dominion of the clans within a few short years. The great houses, while having a numerical advantage, were struggling to defend themselves. This, for them, was a different kind of war. Their seemingly inadequate equipment and frontline combatants melted time and again in the face of clan discipline, superior training, and people bred for conflict just like this. When it became apparent that Terra was the primary invasion objective, Comstar stepped out of the shadows and decided to act. Comstar...
Oh God, when you get the phone company, you know, starting to fear for their lives, you know you've done, you know you've kicked the hornet's nest, because you know they're going to start amassing every resource they have.
Could no longer fence sit and facilitate. Comstar had to roll up its sleeves and show the clanners who was boss.
Also, again, I'm still learning about this, but I love the fact, you know, the phone company is you have them dressed like this, where right here, like they're dressed like wizards, but they have like assault rifles and stuff like that. It's so stupid. It's absolutely beautiful.
Comstar, being the shifty fucks they are, decided to abuse the system. This is called asymmetrical strategic planning. In layman's terms, this is called tactical fuckery. So Comstar, being Comstar and having studied their opponents in detail, they decided to bring the clans to a single point and annihilate them. In 3052, Comstar issued a batch-all. Batch-all in clanner speak is a direct challenge, a contest of wills to be won. And this was a challenge that the clans could not, without significant loss of honor, pass up. Comstar openly challenged the invading clans to the following: fight on a chosen world, in this case Tukayyid. The clans would be invited to bring their very best. Comstar would bring theirs. Each clan would have 2 cities as objectives. If the clans could conquer and hold them, they would win. Comstar would act as the defenders and would try to contest the objectives with all they had. If the clans won, Comstar would make no challenge to the clan conquest. If the clans were to lose, however, they would have to obey a 15-year truce on their honor to halt all further invasion from a delineation line set at Tukayyid. To this direct challenge, the clanners agreed. This was bargained and done. After all, how could they refuse a direct challenge from a jumped-up telecom company pretending to be the inheritors of Star League?
Jeez, okay, thinking about it, like, again, like, I'm seeing where this could go now, because, again, like, from everything I've learned about the clanners, they're all, you know, again, they're essentially almost all super soldiers, bred for combat. They're superior soldiers, but it's their culture that let them down. I mean, also, you know, again, there was the supply issues that were gone over in the Mad Cat video. But it seems like the biggest thing that let them down was the culture. Well, yes, they were, you know, a combat-focused culture and stuff like that. Their obsession with honor seems to have been their biggest thing, which unfortunately made them predictable, at least to Comstar here.
The nerve on those bastards. As it turns out, underestimating Comstar would be about as smart as letting Michael Vick babysit your dog. Immediately, clanners began to bargain internally for the privilege of drop order, or who gets to hit the planet first and how much shit they intend to bring. This was a contest in itself, bidding forces in order of battle, in order to out-honor the honorable honor for honor's sake. Honor on the side, hold the honor with extra honor.
Again, that's kind of the problem when you have an honor-bound, you know, a warrior race. It's like, all you need is some person that could potentially be more powerful, as well as not having the honor, so they don't have to play fair.
Some clanners even did almost a 3rd grade level of homework on their opposing commander, Comstar's own Anastasius Vogt. The clanners dismissed him as a paper general, someone with no military experience, leading an army of bureaucrats driving machines they couldn't understand from an era long gone.
Which is funny, because you look at him, and he already has battle scars and stuff like that. So unless, you know, they assume that Comstar was doing... Oh god, I'm forgetting what the name is, but if you look at, like, a lot of pictures of World War II German generals and stuff like that, you'll notice a lot of them have scars and stuff like that. There was, like, there was this weird game that was kind of sweeping the ranks of, like, the Prussian aristocracy in between the wars. And it was just that where they kind of, like, sword fight, and they kind of, like, and they get to the point where, like, they'd have to, like, get cut by their opponent by, like, their blade and stuff like that. It's really weird. So unless they were assuming that the Comstar was doing something similar, I mean, you see somebody who has, like, battle scars and eye patch, so unless you assume that, you know, either stupidity or makeup, like, you have to assume something's going on there.
The clanners thought he was nothing more than a pretender, a joke, a noble in the guise of a soldier. He was to them a non-threat, leading an army of children, pretending at war. The clans had brought their best and brightest. To answer a call of this extraordinary magnitude, they fielded their best commanders and most elite battle-hardened soldiers. They brought forward their best mechs and equipment from the invasion corridors. They would take to this field of battle with their Khans leading from the front. This was their greatest challenge of the era. This was their finest hour. They realized this would be a glorious battle sung for generations, a tipping point in their history. Oh, how right they were. You have to understand, this was what clanners had wanted, a triumph of their way of life, their society, their ethos versus the barbarians they intended to conquer. Above all, honor was on the line. It was a challenge to everything they stood for, and defeat seemed impossible.
Okay, here's one of those things, like, I don't know whether Tex has talked about it so far, because, like, again, a lot of videos in this playlist, but, like, I want to figure out, like, how did the clanners actually become what they are? Because, like, again, they were, the clanners were essentially descendants of the people that left the core after the Civil War. So how did you get that and then have it turn into this, like, super soldier, honor-bound, hyper-honor-bound, hyper-advanced society thing going on?
Finally, the Inner Sphere had the grit to actually obey their correct rules of combat and issue a challenge to determine this all in a reasonable manner to a clanner.
Yeah.
Finally, the Inner Sphere would play by their rules. But, as it turns out, where the clan was concerned with honor and protocol, Comstar was concerned with, winning.
Yeah. What did I say earlier about that's the one flaw of an honor-bound society, that all it takes is fighting somebody who doesn't care about honor in the slightest? I mean, I forget where I heard it from, but I remember specifically from somewhere saying that a fair fight is only suckers fight a fair fight. Because, I mean, obviously, if it's a fair fight, then you could still lose, and that's, you know, a greater chance of losing men and materiel.
On the defense, Comstar brought everything they had. Protocols of ancient technologies were unsealed, opened, and emptied, and pressed into the hands of untested, but well-trained and semi-green pilots.
Unfortunately.
Some of these pilots took to the field in weapons that had in many cases not been used in 300 years. For this titanic conquest, Comstar emptied every garrison in the Inner Sphere except Terra. Comstar dedicated 12 entire armies to the field of battle, and was prepared to lose them all to save Terra alone. And while the Com Guards were an admittedly untested force of green pilots, they had excellent training and knew the stakes. If they could win just this once, they would stop the invasion. Because clanners didn't know how to engage in takesies-backsies with any level of aptitude and just invade anyways if they lost. But if Comstar lost and mangled the clan war machine, they could buy time for reinforcements from the great houses. Either way, Comstar was going into the battle knowing this would be a meat grinder. Even with their equipment being close to battle parity, they would be the underdog, and this would be their Alamo. The order of battle for 3052 is well documented. This is the clan drop order for Tukayyid and their objectives. And the...
Wait, okay, so I'm looking at, like, the clan logos here. Is this one just in front of a floppy disk? Because, like, it's a little rectangular, but that just looks like it's a bird in front of a floppy disk.
Battle that unfolded was apocalyptic. The planet-wide battle lasted from the 1st of May to the 20th. For 20 days, the fate of the Inner Sphere was held in the balance as a telecom company fought invaders from beyond the sphere. And how they did it is really something else.
20 days. So, I mean, granted, it's a little, ambitious to call, fighting over an entire planet a single battle. But, I mean, the fact that 12 armies, and you were willing to lose 12 armies, like, how many, like, again, like, it depends on the setting and stuff like that, but how many men is that? Like, you don't only have the fighters, but you have all the support personnel, like, all the people, like, just all the people who cook, all the people that maintain the ships to get them there. Like, if you were prepared to lose that many people, oh god, it's desperate then.
Comstar may be a lot of things, crazy, duplicitous, deceptive, all-knowing, quasi-religious fanatics, but they had very little practical experience in warfare. In fact, prior to this point, Comstar more or less had to eliminate problems using the old Soviet method. Comstar was, beneath everything else, an information-based organization and drew on history for the direction for this battle. Comstar opted for defense in depth, also known as an elastic defense, also known as a castle defense, or in the modern era as a hippity-hoppity get-off-my-property, and pulled out all stops by using a series of rapid, unending hit-and-run engagements against the invaders. The defense was dependent on hitting the clanners at every opportunity, ambushing them, then retreating, hitting and fading, and pushing them to the breaking point all the while. Clanners had the advantage in mobility and equipment. Double heat sinks negate a lot of heat, so the inner-sphere had to push them all that much harder, and as soon as the clanners mustered a counterattack, the inner-sphere would fade away, leading to the next offensive point, and then engage again. So every time the clanners paused to think, they dropped artillery and airstrikes on their head. Every time they paused to survey a path, they were hit by marauding scout vehicles, mechs, VTOLs, aerospace.
God, what is this mech? Because, like, again, I've seen several of them, and, like, usually the actual design of the mech changes from model to model and from artist to artist. But, like, what is this one where, like, it's, like, asymmetrical almost, where it seems like I'd imagine this is the cockpit over here, but it's to, like, the right, and then the left is basically this giant missile pod here, and each arm is like double. I don't think that's lasers, are they? Are they lasers or just regular guns? Like, what is this? It's so goofy.
Assets or even more artillery. Sometimes Comstar would let clanner scout vehicles pass the main body and then snap to ambush the main column advance, cutting scouts off and surprising the hell out of everyone. Prepared defenses allowed Comstar to achieve a spectacular success in defense in depth. All battle preparations were for rapid redeployment of forces, reconsolidation of damaged units, and hardened defensive points to force clanners to battle. Even the ground was prepared in advance for this bloodbath. Every bridge was rigged to blow, or set to sabotage. Concealed bunkers along every attack route provided excellent firing points and served as effective anchors for defense in depth. Entire cities were completely covered into elaborate kill zones. Every access corridor was a trap. Every road was a potential minefield. Every field of planted grain potentially sown with explosives or concealing weapon systems.
Jeez, at this point, this is starting to sound like the Battle of Stalingrad on, like, steroids.
Clanners had to worry that behind every blade of grass was a rifle barrel, a bayonet, a missile, a tank, an artillery piece, or a mech. Comstar had prepared the planet into an enormous killing field, and when the battle commenced, the comm guards hit them like a vengeful god. And how did the clan manage in the face of all this? Let me tell you a story. When Clan Smoke Jaguar hit the planet, they landed with 2 full galaxies of units. This is the
I'm sorry, 2 full galaxies? What kind of unit type is that?
Equivalent of several brigades of power armor-wearing, nightmare-fuel-drinking, eugenics-born stormtroopers, psychotic mech pilots devoid of all human emotion but hate and pride, and the leadership needed to drive these tools into the heart of the enemy with zero hesitation, and Comstar completely ruined them by exploiting terrain, prepared defensive positions, and in one spectacular instance, getting them to advance through a seemingly undefended pass, only to spring an ambush and turn it into a shooting gallery. Comstar fighting Smoke Jaguar was like the Harlem Globetrotters versus third graders.
Okay, again, I've talked about how the mechs are drawn by some people. What is this? Like, is this the back of the mech and it's going like, oh, on someone, or is this, or are the arms literally backwards, where from the shoulders the arms then go up and they're kind of like this? Like, what is that?
When Smoke Jaguar gave up and left the planet with full material losses calculated in, they lost all but 22% of their equipment. 32% of their total committed forces were killed outright. More were horrifically mangled and damaged beyond any use to the clan war machine. The Jaguars had kept fighting, thinking that they had almost annihilated their enemies, because who could stand against them? They were Smoke Jaguar. They were goaded into yet one more attack, one more stand, one more battle, over and over and over again, because they believed they were on the verge of victory, and every time Comstar would hit them all the harder. Smoke Jaguar could not conceive of an enemy that could stand up to their might. Well, Comstar did, and succeeded.
Jeez, okay, that's just, God, as soon as you think it's just that, God, you know, that kind of makes me think about, it kind of makes me think of, a multiplayer games like playing like World of Tanks and World of Warships and stuff like that. And in all my years of playing that, there's always that one saying where you gotta try to win harder. Where up to this point, the clans have been just absolutely wiping the floor with the core. And they assumed, through both culture and, recent experience, that nothing could withstand their might and fight. And yet they kept trying to win, even though they were already practically winning already. And that urge to just win a little harder, to think that, it's just going to be fun and games, it's going to be so easy. That's when the entire thing fell apart. Oh.
And they didn't stop there. When Clan Novacat decided to land troops and equipment using a spectacular demonstration of the incredibly effective hover drop maneuver, showing off their elite skill before their enemies on the field of battle, Comstar decided enough was enough and ruined their air show. How? Comstar blitzed aerospace assets in, attacked and kamikazed the drop ships. In an instant, Novacat lost Alpha Galaxy's command ship, and the rest were immediately grounded. In this confusion, Comstar gained air superiority, and guess how that went? They turned the landing zone into a turkey shoot. After the comm guards easily managed to maintain air superiority over the drop zones and shot the living bejesus out of the clanners as they tried to forge a beachhead, leaving the Novacats in short supply with extreme difficulties in maintaining any effective communication, command, and control. As it turns out, it's hard to do any of the above while getting your ass handed to you by crazy people.
Wait, which side? Wait, no, it doesn't matter. They're both crazy.
The comm guards then launched an all-out kamikaze attack while the Novacats were busy trying to capture Comstar Depot. Why? They were out of supplies. At a tremendous loss, Novacat was pushed off the planet. Why? Comstar threw everything they had at them while they had their backs turned. Of their invasion force, 3 Novacat stars survived. That's 15 mechs out of an invasion force. It was a near total wipe, and that's not the worst beating that was delivered. When Clan Diamond Shark landed, they had an army. When they left, it was gone. A memory. An entire invasion force relegated to the past tense. Later.
So, okay, that's a bloodbath right there. God, okay, that makes me think of like Hearts of Iron 4, where you try to go for a naval invasion and just your entire army just dies.
When Steel Viper landed, they were goaded by Comstar into continuing their attack to such a point that they ran out of ammunition, until they ran into the 321st and 401st Comm Guards, who had plenty, and decided to share it with them at gunpoint. Steel Viper lost so hard their Khan resigned. And on and on and on it went.
Honestly, how, again, like, that just shows like a lack of tactical awareness, because even if you're winning, I mean, like, if you fight for so long that you literally run out of bullets to fire, like, even if you're winning, that's a problem.
Every time a clan or commander tried to back down, a Comstar commander would issue a challenge to get them to do stupid things. Then Comstar would be waiting there with enough forces to jump on them like amphetamine-soaked circus monkeys. The clanners were unprepared for a war like this. This was not a war they had ever fought before. And thanks to Comstar's success, it was not a war they would ever fight again. Comstar didn't falter. They knew the cost of this. They bulldozed the corpses of their fallen comrades out of the way and kept attacking.
Jeez.
When a clanner unit was spotted, something was flying at it. Artillery, rockets, missiles, aerospace assets, VTOLs, tanks, infantry, whatever was at hand was put on that problem until it stopped. Comstar ground its own forces down on the clans, knowing that no matter how fancy their crap was, you could still die if you tried hard enough. And in the end, the clans lost. Only Clan Wolf managed to achieve its stated objectives. Ghost Bear and Jade Falcon took a draw. Every single other clan flatly lost.
Jeez.
And not just lost. Some were eradicated in all but name.
Wait, you mean like the invasion force or the clan in general? Because that's a big difference there.
By guess, it's roughly estimated that clanners lost 40% of their committed fighting forces, and many more were horribly damaged.
Jeez.
This would be bad enough for any army, considering that it would take them out of the fight for years even if their resupply and supporting logistics were on the front lines with them, which they weren't. They were all the way back in clanner space. But this is one step worse. This isn't just clanner rank and file, this is the best they fucking had.
Yeah, just
they had brought out their very best with their most promising commanders, only to be utterly annihilated. They lost more than they could ever hope to replace in such a short time. They lost irreplaceable weapons, manpower, entire generations of their finest, to include 2 Khans on the field of battle. The Green Comm Guards managed to grind the clan war machine to a damn halt by throwing their bodies into the fray and fighting until they died screaming. Every time a comm guard was gunned down, another stepped up to take their place. Mech after mech, tank after tank, infantryman after infantryman. From PPC to bayonet, Comstar fought them and died for every inch of soil. Needless to say, Comstar's losses were beyond count. As it turns out, if you fight a war like Zukov, you're going to lose a few people.
Yeah.
This defeat changed the clans. It rocked them. It upset their way of everything. It changed their culture. Some clans changed the way they viewed the Inner Sphere and became wardens instead of crusaders. Some clans had lost their entire command and control on the fields of battle. Some lost all of their functional equipment in the invasion corridor, removing them as a power for years to come. Some had lost every great warrior and every promising warrior for a generation. Clans like Steel Viper would make themselves feel better by deciding to crusade against the Jade Falcons and, well, sorting things out through hurt feelings. Clans like Diamond Shark would find themselves suddenly in a better place as their warrior caste more or less disappeared overnight, only to be replaced by a very forward-thinking, friendly, and diplomatic merchant caste.
Oh, really?
Some clans would look at the Inner Sphere in silent awe, wondering why this had happened in the first place. They were confused. What had they gained? Why did they fight this way? Their opponent had invited them to fight, and it was a fight they foolishly underbid and lost because their honor demanded it. It was a fight they lost because honor was more important than strategic vision. And sadly, it was a battle they lost to a glorified, self-important, fanatical telecommunications company. And this victory was everything to the Inner Sphere. Mostly it gave a sense of unity to the Inner Sphere, for a time anyways.
God, just the idea, again, the fact, well, I mean, of course, like, you lose generations of any population, you're going to have, like, cultural changes. But, like, the fact a single stretch of 20 days was so violent and destructive, it stopped a war in its tracks and changed the ways of life for countless people. I mean, I know there's the butterfly effect, but at that point, it's just comet, middle of the ocean.
Would later undo this in record time. However, on the technical side, the scrap and salvage recovered would bolster engineering, research, and design efforts in the Inner Sphere for years to come. And now, the opinion of an asshole. Why the clan lost wasn't purely for honor's sake, though. That played a part. A crap culture plus a crap value system equals crap battle theory. However, the clanners weren't only undone by their cultural ideology, they were undone by an asshole exploiting it. Remember Vogt? Anastasius Vogt?
Yeah,
the bureaucrat general playing war?
Yep.
Turns out he wasn't a bureaucrat. And truth be told, that wasn't even his real name. He was born Frederick Steiner. He was at one point the scion of House Steiner. He was a hero and a mad bastard. He was an accomplished leader and commander of men, and not without a dark side. His dangerous path through life led him to take a new name and become reborn as Anastasius Vogt after burning his bridges as a Steiner royal. He was handed over to Comstar, and with his new name came new duties.
Wait, Steiner. Oh God, what that name? That last name sounds familiar. Ah. Oh, okay, right. They're from the Lyrian Commonwealth. Okay, that's where I remember hearing them from. Okay.
Comstar, he became a defender of the Inner Sphere, a commander of men again. He was a phenomenal military mind before his rebirth, and was at core a soldier and little else. With the resources of Comstar and their omnipresent intelligence operations, he was the perfect man to win at Tukayyid. He knew that to defeat an enemy you had to overpower them, outsmart them, and in the end, crush them. He was so driven to flatly destroy enemies that all of his opponents throughout his life considered him to be completely incapable of subtlety. He was more than ready to throw bodies at a problem until the problem went away. He knew the enemy could not replace losses too easily, and clearly saw the means to cripple the clan war machine. As a man, he hated politics, he hated social courtesy, he hated protocol, he hated honor and bowing. He only liked war. And the clanners made the worst mistake possible you can make when looking at an opponent. They dismissed him as a joke and failed to respect him, and for that, he fucking broke them.
He only liked war. Oh, jeez. Okay, you know, that reminds me of, God, what was his name? There was that one British soldier, the unkillable soldier or something like that. Yeah, Sir Adrian Paul, Gustain, okay, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that, but like, sounds like the kind of man exactly like him. One that loved fighting and combat and was very good at it, apparently. Jeez.
For the end, I'll turn to a quote from the man himself. Wars are not won on the field of combat. Battles are. But those are only ever part of the story. To win a war, you need to break the enemy's resolve, to force him to accept defeat. Otherwise, the war will never end. Too many conflicts persist because battles are won, but the hearts and minds of the people are not. Winning involves every level of society. From the generals and the politicians to the shopgirls and the street cleaners. The infantryman with his rifle may be the blunt weapon used to win this fight, but he is neither the instigator nor the concluder. TLDR, the clans brought their best. And Space AT&T said, "Get bent, weirdo." Next time, though, we'll get back to what I promised, a space story. Catch fuck off with the laser pointer.
It's a laser sight. These future guns kick ass.
I don't care. You could put someone's eye out.
Okay, fine. It turns out that's not a safety. The more you know.
God damn it, Catch.
Oh, give me a locus where
There's still more of these memes or just credits?
Where the three-body problem is solved.
Okay, those are all just credits. Okay. Oh, God. But yeah, sorry, absolutely beautiful. I love the lore of this world. And again, the fact that you could shake up a society like that so much. God, it's... Again, I love sci-fi, and I want to learn more about what made the clans the way they are. I'm currently just going through Tex's playlist in order here. So, I mean, hopefully he's, you know, done something about that and talked about it. But if he hasn't, can anybody in the comment section, like, point towards a video that actually goes into the history of the clans themselves and how they became, you know, how they are? Because I'm really intrigued and want to learn more about them. But yeah, that's definitely going to be it for now. So, yeah, of course, as always, original videos linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video will lead to my Let's Play of the day. And yeah, with all that out of the way, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.